This is Fake News on Facebook by me, Hayden Horn. The Cambridge Dictionary defines fake news as fake stories that appear to be news, and these are usually used as a joke or for political purposes, which is a very dangerous thing. A Pew Research poll in 2016 decided that 23% of Americans had shared a fake news story on Facebook. This is an issue because that's almost a fourth of the country who shared fake news on Facebook knowingly because they admitted to doing it. This also brings in foreign influence on elections and daily life in America because a foreign government can put fake news stories on Facebook just as easily as a person could, and this can affect almost everything that we do. Also, 83% of people on Facebook said that they failed to identify fake news. So they were tested by Pew and they didn't identify the fake news. So this shows that people are not only sharing it frequently, but they're bad at identifying it. So they can't tell what's fake and what's real now because of the prevalence that this has on Facebook. So the connection to the stimulus materials. Edward Kessler says that social media has become an important part of our lives in an incredibly short period of time. This shows how much we rely on social media and how much we use it every day because it's just part of our daily life now. And also, Martin Luther King, in a letter to people who were condemning his actions, said that in your statement you assert that our actions, even though peaceful, must be condemned because they precipitate violence. And this was kind of the fake news of his time when people were accusing him of things he didn't do and saying that he was causing violence when he was really doing peaceful things. So this is similar to what we have on Facebook today, which is fake news that are demonizing people and spreading false things. So the research question I had was, is fake news becoming prevalent on Facebook? So first we have to look at the frequency of share. So once you see a story that piques your interest, let's say this is fake in this case, you're going to immediately share it with your friends. Before you go and research it to see if it's true or not, you're just going to hit the share button and send it to everybody you know. So this is an issue because then on Facebook the system is you share it and not only can your friends see it, but their friends can also see it. So once you tag your friends in this and say, hey, insert a tag for your friend, so that not only do they see it, their friends see it, so it reaches two groups of people. And so 30% of fake news was actually linked back to Facebook, so that means that all the fake news, 30% of it is on Facebook. So this is a big issue because that's just bad for Facebook. Also, only 8% of real news is linked back to Facebook. So the people getting their news on Facebook, 30% of that is real, and 30% is fake, and 8% is real. This also influences elections. So in the 2016 presidential election, there was over 9 million engagements with fake news on Facebook, and that's only the top 20 stories. So this is only the main 20 that were shared. So there are many more engagements. And to put that into perspective, the margin, the popular vote, was only 2.87 million. So 9 million people engaged with fake news, and the difference between the two candidates was only 2.87 million. So this really shows how much of an issue this is. Also, this was the popular vote, but it can obviously be shown the Electoral College would reflect similar results. And this is from the Imperial Business College. So as you can see, these are some of the top 5 fake news stories from the election. And the first one is that Pope Francis endorsed Donald Trump, which is not true, and that reached over 960,000 people. So that means that 960,000 people saw this, and this may have influenced how they voted in the election. The other story for the other side says that Hillary sold weapons to ISIS, which is also untrue, and this reached 789 million people. So this really shows that this is a big issue. Also, as you can see at the bottom, during the election time, 1.4 million fake news stories were viewed more than mainstream news stories. So this shows how many more of the fake stories were viewed. So really the fake stories had more of an influence than the real ones. And this is from Business Insider and Statista. So the first solution would be to add labels to the news stories, which would be labels such as opinion or warning saying Facebook flags this as this might be fake news. So one of the good things about this is it identifies what's fake, and it also identifies what's opinionated. That way you're not relying on opinion as fact, so it kind of kills two birds with one stone. And it also informs people as to what they're reading. Some of the cons is that this requires a lot of manual labor, being you have to read it, you have to research it, and then you have to flag it. So, I mean, with all the fake news stories and the real news stories on Facebook, there's going to be a need for a lot of people to do this, so Facebook would have to pay for that. Some of the implications are that fake news is going to be less prevalent on Facebook because when people see that it's flagged as false or like a warning that it might be false, they're likely not going to engage with that content. And the trust on the news in Facebook will go up. That way people can go back to relying on it as a news source. With some of the limitations, like I said, you need more employees for this. So it's up to Facebook as to if they're willing to pay employees to screen this news and hire new people and train them for this. And also the stories may be mislabeled by accident. Maybe somebody did incorrect research or something. So this could also label a real news story as fake, causing that to not be seen, even if it's like a real important story. Another solution would be to only allow mainstream media sources. So this would be sources MSNBC, CNN, Fox, CBS, the main ones that everybody's familiar with. A pro to this is that it decreases the potential for fake news because these organizations actually have something to lose if they post fake news because they are reputable institutions. So if they post fake news, their viewership is going to go down. And it's also easier to monitor because you only have a certain number of sources. Some of the cons, that some people might prefer non-mainstream sources, so you have to decide if it's worth it or if those people still have the right to view non-mainstream sources on their Facebook. And it limits the information, so people might see it as censorship by Facebook, which would not look good for them, so they have to decide. Also, the question becomes, what defines a mainstream news source? So is that only the ones that have channels or newspapers, or does that also extend to online sources, such as Vice News and things like that? Some of the implications are that, again, fake news is going to be less prevalent, and trust in Facebook news is going to go up again. And the limitations is that this might not be accepted. People might say, I still want to listen to these non-mainstream sources and read them. And it also could be an echo chamber because there's a limited number of mainstream sources. Right-leaning people say, oh, I'm only going to select Fox News that I want to see, and left-leaning might say, I only want to see CNN and MSNBC, so this will create, only their views that they get to see on Facebook. So that's an issue. So, in conclusion, this epidemic not only affects those on Facebook, but those who aren't, because people who aren't on Facebook, they're still going to hear about these, and if it influences election, there's still going to be, the leaders that are elected might not be elected based on real things, but maybe made up information. And also, foreign governments can still use this for espionage, so we really need to make sure that we're finding a solution to this so it'll stop. And also, the fact checkers in place now for Facebook are simply ineffective because they're identifying the information and they're fact checking it, but they're not taking it off. There's nothing they're doing that works. They're mainly biased people too, based on my research. And also you can see from this graphic from Report Linker that 32% of people get their information from Facebook. So this is a large majority of people. So that means compared to the other sources, so we really need to clean up Facebook's news.